We're here in front of our St. Junipero Cerro Chapel, and this week we're doing something a little bit differently for our ministry minutes. We are going to talk about vocations, and so we all kind of started thinking about the different ways that we are called to serve God. We're here serving in youth ministry. Other people are called to be teachers and essential workers and catechists and things like that. And we had the opportunity to sit down with Father John, Sister Danielle, and Father Rod, and they kind of shared their stories about how they got started in their vocations. So stay tuned, and if you guys feel called to do so, please share down in the bottom what you feel God is calling you to right now, or if you're still trying to think about it and you need some prayers, shout it out down below, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Sister Danielle, and last Sunday, as you know, was Vocation Sunday, so the retreat staff here at St. Anthony and Santa Teresita, we decided that we would share our vocation stories. So I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois, which is about 25 minutes from St. Louis, just across the river. I was lucky enough to go to a Catholic grade school, and at my school we had school sisters of Notre Dame as my teachers, and even in first and second grade I remember just being so impressed by them. They were so kind to the children, and at that time, believe it or not, they were all young, most of them anyway, and they were just a lot of fun to be with. And I also saw how they liked each other. They teased each other and really formed a community together. So that was, I think, just maybe the first seed that was planted in me. And I think that another seed that was planted, I think I was either 5th or 6th grade. And I remember I had stayed after school to help clean the erasers or something, blackboard or something. And anyway, so I was going home by myself, and at that time we wore uniforms in the Catholic school, and I had my books that I was carrying, and I was walking home, which was about maybe 5-6 blocks from school. And right across the street was a public school. And as I started to walk home, two probably 8th grade boys from the public school were walking behind me and making fun of Catholics and making fun of my uniform, making fun of me. And I remember being quite frightened, really, and not knowing what to do. And all of a sudden I had the thought, we had been studying in religion class. We were studying about the martyrs and that. And here I'm saying to myself, I can't even stand being teased because of my Catholic uniform, and here all these people were willing to give their lives. And so I think the seed that was planted in me is that even at that early age, it's like I wanted to be proud of my faith. I wanted to live in a way that showed people that I really loved and was proud of my faith. So that was probably 5th or 6th grade. And then 7th grade was a hard year for me, and I think that's probably when I started my real prayer life and really talking to God, and also that was the year, somewhere around the end of the year, that I really did feel that call to become a school sister of Notre Dame. And but it was something that I didn't want to really share with people. I did share it with one sister who was my teacher at the time, but other than that, it was like I kept that a secret in my heart. And so I went all through high school, and I had a wonderful time in high school. I had a lot of friends. I dated a lot of guys. Went to dances. We just had a great time. I was a counselor at a Catholic youth camp during the summers, but all that time I had that secret in my heart of really I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And it wasn't until it was in my senior year, I remember that my mom and I were icing Easter cookies. And my mom said to me, you better decide what you want to do in life. Are you going to go to college? Are you going to get a job? What are you going to do? And I said, I know exactly what I want to do. She said, well, what is that? I says, I want to enter the convent. My mom was kind of shocked, and she told my dad that night, and they weren't really too happy about the idea, but they both said, "We want you to be happy. If this is what you really want, we won't stand in the way. We will support you." But my mom just said, "Just promise me one thing, that you'll never go out of the United States, that you'll stay here in the United States." I said, "Don't worry, Mom." I said, "I have enough trouble with English. I'm not going to learn another language." So I entered the convent that year, in August 25th, 1965. Would you believe it? It's been that long. But I remember so much that night, that first night in the convent, where everything was so strange, and I was standing beside my bed. At that time, we had a single bed and a little nightstand, and then there were little curtains that go around. We called it a cell. That was yours, I had these white seersucker pajamas on, and everything was so weird, so strange. But I remember before getting into bed that night, all of a sudden, there was such a deep peace that came over me. And it was finally, it's like the inside of me and the outside of me were finally one. And that peace has really stayed with me the whole time, that, that this is really what I wanted to do with my life, and this is it. This is it. So I remember, though, on my day of profession, I never, ever would have dreamed all the things that will be a part of my life, the adventures that I have had. I started out as a teacher at high school, as a science teacher, junior high science and religion teacher, and then I liked teaching science, but I loved teaching religion. So then that led me into being a religious education coordinator of several parishes. But then I made a retreat when I was 27 years old. It was such a powerful retreat, and it was such a freeing retreat for me, that I just felt something was coming. Something was coming. And I remember I was watching some slides of all the different ministries that we had in my province, and some of them were in Honduras and Central America. And I saw these sisters riding horseback out to the aldeas to catechize, and I felt myself said, "Oh, I could do that." I saw some other pictures, of them with children teaching. I said, "I could do that." By the end of the slides, I felt myself saying, "Oh, I'd like to do that." I said, "Oh, to get that out of your mind." You say, you're not going anywhere. But the more I tried to get it out of my mind, the more it came back to me over and over. And so I finally said, all right. I'm just going to sit down and write a letter to my provincial and say, if you ever need anybody, to go to Honduras for 3 to 5 years, I'd be willing. Just knowing that most of those times, those letters get stuck in a drawer somewhere in some archive, and that's where they sit, and at least it would be off my chest. Well, so I wrote the letter, sent it, and 2 weeks later I got a call saying, "Danielle, thank you for your lovely letter, and yes, we would love to take you up on your offer." I thought, oh my goodness. So I needed to go tell my mom, and when before I entered the convent, when she said, "Well, I don't want you to go anywhere outside of the States," I did say to her at that time, I said, "Well, we do have California as part of our missions. They could send me to California." So anyway, so I said, "Well, I've got to go talk to my mom and dad." So I went home and I said, "Well, you better sit down." They said, "Oh my God, you're going to California." Oh, not exactly. So anyway, it turned out that I went to Honduras, and these were just some wonderful years of my life, of getting to know people it was a land of extreme poverty and extreme beauty. Physical beauty, the natural beauty, but also the people were so wonderful and so beautiful. And one of the deep lessons that I learned from that is, we're all alike. Everybody is alike. No matter what culture they're from, what language they speak, inside, we're all just the same. And so I'm grateful also for the chance to learn Spanish, which I can use now that I've been finally in California. And so I have really had some wonderful, wonderful experiences in my ministry. And as Father John said, if had the chance, I would do it definitely all over again. When I came back from Honduras in 1989, then I had no idea what I was going to do, and but as it turned out, they needed help at this retreat center in Kentucky, and I said, well, I have nothing that's on my schedule right now. I can help out for a year or so until I decide, what God is calling me to. Well, as it turned out, I loved retreat ministry, and it has become really the greatest joy in my life. So I've been director of a retreat center in Kentucky, and now here I am in California, and I am so grateful for every opportunity, and I really the school sisters of Notre Dame have become my life, and I love them and everything that they have given to me.